Hello, and welcome to another episode where we delve into the murky depths of corporate greed, this time in the United Kingdom. Today, we're uncovering the shocking reality behind the pristine facade of the English countryside. You know, that land of tea, crumpets, and apparently rampant sewage dumping. It's hard to believe, but the same rivers that once inspired poets are now choked with waste. We're talking about the UK's water crisis, a tale as old as time itself, or at least as old as privatising a public good for profit. The privatisation of water services was supposed to bring efficiency and innovation, but instead it has led to neglect and pollution. Buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the sewer of corporate malfeasance. The companies responsible for managing the water supply have been cutting corners, prioritising profits over public health. And yes, before you ask, this is actually happening in a developed country, and it's a stark reminder that progress isn't always linear, and sometimes we take steps backward. You'd think in the 21st century having clean water wouldn't be a luxury, but alas, here we are. The situation has become so dire that some communities are forced to rely on bottled water for their daily needs. It's a crisis that affects everyone, from the smallest village to the largest city. People are standing up, demanding change and fighting for their right to clean water. Join us as we explore the depths of this issue and uncover the truth behind the headlines. Since Margaret Thatcher decided that everything, including water, should be sold off to the highest bidder, the landscape of water management in the UK has changed dramatically. Private companies have been in charge of your H2O, promising efficiency and better service. But has that really been the case? Now, I'm no economist, but selling off essential resources seems about as smart as selling your kidneys for a timeshare. It's a gamble with something we can't live without. But hey, at least the water companies are using all that extra cash to, improve infrastructure and reduce pollution, right? You'd think with all the profits, they'd be investing heavily in our water systems. Wrong. They're too busy lining the pockets of their CEOs and shareholders. The focus seems to be more on profit margins than on providing clean, safe water. Remember that whole trickle-down economics thing? The idea that benefits at the top will eventually make their way down to everyone else? Yeah, turns out it's more of a trickle-down sewage situation. Lovely. Instead of clean water, we get polluted rivers and environmental disasters. The reality is far from the promises made. Let's get specific, shall we? The scale of this issue is staggering, and it's time we dive deep into the murky waters of corporate negligence. Thames Water, the biggest water company in the UK, pumped raw sewage into rivers for a staggering 6,798 hours in 2021 alone. Imagine the sheer volume of waste contaminating our precious waterways. That's like having a non-stop sewage fountain for 283 days straight. Just picture it, day after day, month after month, relentless pollution pouring into our rivers, and they're not the only ones. The problem is widespread, affecting numerous water bodies across the country. Southern Water, another big player, was fined a record £90 million for deliberately dumping billions of litres of sewage into the sea. This wasn't an accident, it was a calculated move to cut costs at the expense of our environment. Talk about making a splash. The impact on marine life and coastal communities is devastating. These companies are like the Beyoncé and Jay-Z of environmental destruction, filthy rich and seemingly untouchable. Their actions show a blatant disregard for the environment and public health, all in the name of profit. Now, you might be wondering, where are the regulators in all of this? Shouldn't someone be stopping these companies from turning the UK's waterways into a toilet bowl? Well, the regulatory body, Ofwat, is about as effective as a chocolate fireguard. They claim to be protecting customers, but their actions, or lack thereof, tell a different story. It's almost as if they're in cahoots with the very companies they're supposed to be regulating. Shocking, I know. And what about the government, you ask? Surely they wouldn't just sit back and let this happen, right? Well, let's just say their response has been about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. Instead of holding water companies accountable, they've actually made it easier for them to get away with their dirty deeds. It's almost as if campaign contributions have a way of influencing policy decisions. Who could have predicted that? This situation is a disgrace, a slap in the face to every person who relies on clean water. It's time to flush these corrupt practices down the drain, and I mean that literally and figuratively. We need stricter regulations, tougher penalties for polluters, and an end to the cozy relationship between the government and water companies. It's time to demand better from our elected officials and the corporations entrusted with our most precious resource. Remember, water is life. Don't let them take the piss. Get angry, get loud, and let's turn this tide.